Well, well, well. Hello, shipmates. Now that this video was made before the new Iron Blood event in Christmas time in 2024, excuse me. And that event brings us a new Iron Blood carrier. Ultra rare in all that. So I was wondering, how about we go back in time and actually take a look the Iron Blood first carrier in the game very long time, and from that point the Iron Blood started to get more and more carriers in very slow but also steady pace, which bring us today. And if you know any real Navy history, the only carrier the German back then, Kriegsmarine, have a carrier that didn't see any action, only to stay in dock, getting scuttled, then resurfaced and then used again as a target practice and testing the resilience of the carrier design, if I remember correctly. And that is our today's subject. The woman who wants to destroy the world. Graf Zeppelin. Iron Blood's first aircraft carrier, and very interesting history about all that. So, Graf Zeppelin. Yes, that was first past history lesson about Graf Zeppelin. Yes, I confess. But now I have to say, because we are not just logging Graf Zeppelin, but also possibly her sister ship, Peter Strasser, at the same time. And because in biography it says Aircraft Carrier B, one of the Graf Zeppelin class carriers that suffered unfortunate fate, having had my constructor halted without even getting to set sail. So, in that information, we are taking a look at Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser at the same video. So, what do they have to offer? First of all, Graf Zeppelin was first released back in Divergent Chessboard in 2019, then rerun again 2020 if I recall, and then after that, some few years later, not many few years, probably a year after that, Peter Strasser was released. Now then, what are their stats? Starting with the Graf Zeppelin, this information is based on Azur Lane Wiki. It says the basic in level, once you reach level 125, her HP is 7,659. Her aviation 428, AAs 326, reload 129, evasion 52, speed is 33, armor is medium, accuracy is 90, her luck is whopping 45, and oil cost is 13. Well then. Sounds promising? Healthy carrier? Well, there are more healthier carriers today in 2024 and 2025. But if my memory recalls, she was the healthiest carrier in the game. What about her skills? She has 2 skills. Ironblood Wings is the first one. Reduces damage received by all Ironblood ships in the fleet by 15%. For each Ironblood ship in the same fleet as this ship, excuse me, increases this ship's aviation by 5% up to a maximum of 3 stacks, that is 15% at maximum. And then there is 2 differences of Ironblood Hawk, because other one is an augment module. This ship got an augment module back in the day. When this ship is equipped with at least 1 Ironblood aircraft, increase the efficiency of this ship aircraft slots by 13%. Before we move on, I have slight recall, a memory of this peculiar skill, because one, when Graf Zeppelin was released, she was restricted towards Ironblood aircraft only. Those BF, Junkers, Messerschmitts, you name it. She was only capable to use those to get this buff. But now, that skill has been changed. She became more flexible, but still requires at least 1 Ironblood aircraft, so that her slot efficiencies can increase better. So, Augment Module Ironblood Hawk Plus. When this ship launches an airstrike, launches an additional level 10 airstrike. When this ship is equipped with at least 1 Ironblood aircraft, increases the efficiency of this ship aircraft slots by 13%. This loadout I have right here, well, I have my reasons, but just for science sake. As you can see, now that I have GU 87D4 torpedo bomber in the aircraft slot, it will increase the efficiency of all the other aircraft slots equally. Well, the efficiency on the fighter is 150%, dive bomber and torpedo slot gets 160%. When you go to when you get Graf Zeppelin, you notice that she has only fighter and 2 dive bomber slots. Okay, here it is a gear efficiency when you upgrade her. She has fighters, maximum 2 slots, dive bombers 3. In a third upgrade, she gets dive bombers and torpedo bombers. A 3. So she starts a very flexible aircraft carrier, because you can basically drop insane bombs with a maximum of 3. But she might lack with the fighter's way, because there's only 2 of them. But the amount of bombs, I think there's 6 bombs, and of course that depends heavily on the dive bombers you use. But if you use outdated junker dive bombers, you notice there is a plenty amount of bombs in one plane. Probably 5 in all, but we will go to that later. As for her augment, it gives aviation, I don't know what it is, 30 plus 10, and reload 10 plus 5. Mode effect first strike aviation. Every paddle, when this ship launches her first airstrike, increases your main fleet's aviation 20 for 10%. This skill cannot stack with itself, so this is a copy pasta from other skill that allows you to increase the aviation for this amount for this time. I kind of feel like I've seen that before. I might be mistaken. But here is this upgraded Ironblood Hawk at the same time. Once you maximum upgrade this augment module, which is called oh no, concentrated beam type assault rigging. And I don't know what that is, but let's be honest, it's really sad Graf Zeppelin didn't get a real beam. Don't forget to convert, because it also increases the aviation and reload the amount you need. Performing attribute conversion will randomize the stat of your augment module within a fixed range. So overall, C sounds good for Ironblood aircraft carrier. C gives damage reduction 50%, and with this new skill, she also buffs herself with 15% if there is more than 3 or members in the fleet. Ironblood ships, of course. With the Ironblood Hawk, you can basically give her the best aircraft in the game and just give 1 Ironblood gear. So it can be a very, how should I say it, efficient carrier in a paper. As for the skins, unfortunately she has only 1. Let's take a look at the skin. I adore and really like this skin. It's just sad that Graf Zeppelin didn't get any upgrades in skins. Well, new skins at least. I don't know what's wrong with that, but I guess this is the artist and the voice actor at this point. I don't know. I just want to see more interactions with Graf Zeppelin at this point, because she deserves more love at this point, I have to say. She deserves more love. As for her main gear, the art, concept art, the Graf Zeppelin, you can clearly see 105mm AA guns right behind her. And the poster is really magnificent. As for her rigging, you can clearly see she is packing aviations. Junkers ready to go, and the beam rigging just below her. Also 150 secondaries right next to these small riggings that are part of the bigger one. She clearly has 3 heads, if you think about it now. She might not look much, but she is packing a punch. Now, let's go to her sister. Peter Strasser.
時計の針を進めていく人の発想。面白いと思わない？
This one is going to be interesting, I have to confess. Actually, if I take a quick look in a wiki, if I can separate the wind screens from each other. Let's do it this way. I'm gonna put Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser to each other. Sorry about that. So, Peter Strasser, the second ship of Graf Zeppelin class and the sister of Graf Zeppelin. So, what are her numbers in Wiki? Let's find out. In level 125, her HP 7659. Sounds familiar. Aviation 428. Sounds familiar. AA whopping 316. That's surprisingly less. Reload 141. That is slightly more. Evasion is 52. Familiar. Her armor is medium. Her speed, well, evasion 52 and speed is 33. Her accuracy is 104. That's more accurate. Her luck is 45. That's a whopping number. And then the oil cost is 13. As for her gear, her fighter gets 2 slots. Well, excuse me, that was badly pronounced. The max of fighters gets 2. Dive bombers gets 3. And then her torpedo bombers are also 3. The efficiency, fighter 120%, dive bombers 130, and torpedo bomber 140. That's an interesting upward way. Oh, here, limit break ranks. All dive bombers +1, dive bomber efficiency +5, second, hangar capacity +1, all torpedo bombers +1, fighter efficiency 10%, and third one, all aircraft +1 and torpedo bomber efficiency +15%. Now then, interesting. As for her skins, is later. Now with the skills. Ironblood Falcon. I'm gonna read this on Wiki. When this ship launches airstrike, 100%, that's basically an instant chance, to launch additional torpedo bomber airstrike. Okay, damage based on skill level. Paralyzing advance. Decrease the speed of all enemies by 8%. Nice. Once every second, 10% charge. To set the speed of all enemies to 0 for 3 seconds. 7-second cooldown between activation. Yep. Now, Ironblood wings, Blood pinions. For each Ironblood ship in the same fleet, increases the ship aviation by 5%. So that's 50%. by all three. 5%, 3 times, yes. If there are 4 or more Ironblood ships in the same fleet, reduces the time needed for your Ironblood carriers to reload their first 3 airstrikes by 10%. So you have 10% faster reload time to make the next airstrike. What is happening in the background? What the frick? There we go. Well, as for her skins, she is packing. This is her main skin. And she is very... What is mouse doing? Excuse me. Inspecting her main skin. She has 2 riggins. Each of them are packing those well-known 150mm secondary guns. She is clock teamed. I think there was a reason for that, but I forgot what it was. But she really have excuse me, my words. Clock teamed, I have to say. And then there is a second skin. You can clearly see that she is blessed with good nature and beautiful artist, of course. I guess this is a oath skin, if I recall. Really beautiful indeed. Moment frozen in time. Hide the backgrounds. There we go. Really beautiful skins indeed. Now then. In paper she sounds almost like Graf Zeppelin by stats. The only thing she separates from Graf Zeppelin is her loadout and the skills. Well, there is a slight difference between Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser. But we will discuss that more later in a other video. Well, not other video, excuse me. Voice over, excuse me. I need to remember that thing. Voice over video after this. Well, before we go, I have to point out I have Bismarck in the same fleet. A lovely biscuit of Ironblood. Because I have this, Will of the Ironblood. Airstrike crit rate of all your Ironblood ships by 20%, reload 12%. That is the main thing. And unwavering strength. I think this is insta start, but we will see that voiceover video. Chance to fire special barrage also increases the damage of all your Ironblood carriers by 20%. That sounds really, really tasty. As for the second fleet, I have Bismarck Sway, which also gives this extra buff, Reborn Temple of Iron. If the flagship of that fleet is an Ironblood ship, also increases the aviation of that fleet's Ironblood CVs and CVLs by 15%. Now that we have the ultra rare carrier incoming after this video, I say we need to do more experience and research how to combine all these skills. But it all depends how the future ultra rare Ironblood carrier operates. Well, now that we have done this part of the video, it's time to do a voiceover. See you there. Well, for my typical fashion, I tend to forget something. Zippy. Chippy. Chippy? The small version of Graf Zeppelin. Yep. She is Graf Zeppelin, but smaller version. In theory, technically, I could do a review at her in the same video, but because she is a copy from Graf Zeppelin, so she's gonna be reviewed in the future. So, our first review is Graf Zeppelin, and in this background video, as I ramble about Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser, you're gonna notice that they are performing really well. And a reason I picked up in chapter 13 and 4, not the typical 14, because 1, chapter 14 has that nighttime battle that heavily reduces the accuracy of all your guns and aircraft. So keeping her in 13, and the last level of that chapter 13, where you can get Bunker Hill, is a very good choice for this review. And back to the topic. Graf Zeppelin. How is she? Well, this might come from a Iron Blood main player, but I think personally that she is good. She works. Very classic aircraft carrier from 2019s and 2020s. Not overly powerful or overpowerfully weak. She is actually well balanced in the end. And for the record, the augment module can fix her more, but I still try to understand the idea of that blimp flying over the stage and dropping bombs, and not just going with the name of the augment that is called beam. What the frick was it? Was it the name again? Concentrated beam type assault rigging. NT, whatever that NT is. Concentrated beam type assault rigging. Yeah, name is fine, but the actual how it works, a little bit disappointment. But what this actually gives to the Zeppelin is another matter, because it improves her skill a little bit degree, and give those needed buffs to Zeppelin she actually needs today. And with this, of course, let's not forget planes. Now that we have super rare, the torpedo bomber for the Iron Blood, you can give her that, or you can give her the classic Messerschmitt, and then give her either really good dive bombers or dive bomber and torpedo bomber. Because let's not forget, she actually have 2 dive bomber slots. So she can actually drop those bombs with good amounts. What was her dive bombers can actually go maximum 3 in 2 slots. And the bombs those planes actually drops is worth it. So yeah, she is packing a punch. Unfortunately, if you want to give her some good dive bombers, you have to go with the other factions because, well, not every faction has their equally good gears. Sometimes you have to rely on other factions' gears to make this old school ship girl to work. Example is really noticeable here is that you saw the planes I used in Graf Zeppelin. Well, of course, dive bomber is not the best option at this, but I'll be honest, I just took that dive bomber just for a testing course because, well, there's always a good way to make personal testings instead of reading wiki, okay? I just want to have every equipment and gear in ready if there is any new characters I want to use a certain gear, weaponry, excuse me. And then, so, today and 2025, Graf Zeppelin actually works. And thanks to the skills, I need to mention about those. Ironblood Hog. Well, actually, that's a wrong one. Ironblood Wings, excuse me, is the support skill. Support skill? Defensive skill, excuse me, defensive. Reduces damage received by all Ironblood ships in the fleet by 50%. So if you have Graf Zeppelin around, your Ironblood ship girls can survive 15% longer. Reduce damage, so, and also for each Ironblood ship in the same fleet as this ship increases this ship aviation by 5%, maximum of 3 stacks, so that's 15%. Not a bad rate if you ask me. And second of all, Bismarck's skills actually saves the deal in the end. Remember the unwavering strength? Increases the damage of all your Ironblood carriers by 20%. So Graf Zeppelin gets a good damage buff from Bismarck. So do not miss the opportunity to combine these two together in the same fleet. And now that we have a new Ironblood carrier coming at the end of Christmas, in the Christmas week, so should I call it. So let's just say I'm really positive to see how things are going to work out for the Ironblood fleet aviation, because I'm pretty sure you all know Ironblood is not really a carrier faction. No. Because they heavily relied on real life. The ships they had in the time, the surface ships, all 3 Deutschland ships. Well, at the start of the war, Graf Speer sunk 3 months later. Well, she was scuttled, excuse me. Deutschland, too much unlucky. Bad luck. Admiral Scheer, very successful heavy cruiser to the end. Some reason we are still missing. And when it comes to the destroyers, they are basically here and there. Submarines? Good luck adding Type 21s, Type 9s, and Type 23s. Because they have those hydrogen engines, according to the history books. And what else? Graf Zeppelin. She is, as I mentioned, very solid aircraft carrier. And she is the first aircraft carrier the Ironblood got back in a divergent chessboard. Back in 2019. So we are 6 years behind. Not bad ship. She can still work. All she needs is good gears, good auxiliaries, and she is ready to go. Also, I do not want to forget that Manju Aviation team, what was it, the augment name again? That gives 4% more damage, but reduces reload time by increases reload time by 4%, excuse me. So actually Graf Zeppelin can pack entire 24% damage thanks to Bismarck. Whew. Wow! All she needs is just a good gears and airplanes. And when you have the opportunity to have Graf Zeppelin, pick her up and give her date airplanes that are good at those that actually works in Graf Zeppelin, because she requires one Ironblood plane to give that good 13% aircraft slot efficiency buff, because efficiency in those gear slots is important, so keep that in mind. Now then, let's go to the Strasser. Yep. So, Peter Strasser. She is interesting one, I have to say. Well, every time, if I saw it right, this ship launches an airstrike, 100% chance to launch additional torpedo bomber airstrike. So, is that instant? Sounds like it. And then, paralyze in advance decreases the speed of all enemies by 8%. Once every second, 10% chance to set the speed of all enemies to 0 for 3 seconds. That's a useful skill. But there's a 7-second cooldown, I'm fine with that. And for each Ironblood ship in the same fleet, increases this ship aviation 5%, that's 50% on 3. If there are 4 or more Ironblood ships in the same fleet, reduces the time needed for your Ironblood carriers to reload their first 3 airstrikes by 10%. So, she is helpful every way, stopping the enemies, because there is a 1 second, every 1 second, 10% chance to stop all the enemies for 3 seconds. So there's a little RNG there, but once the enemy stops, that's a good sign. And the Ironblood wings, blood opinions, when you have 3 opportunities to reduce the loading time of your iron blood carriers to make their airstrike, that's a big deal. For the record, there are ships that can actually do probably the same thing. I haven't checked that yet. Well, let's say this way: if you have entire iron blood carrier main fleet, and you have Peter Strasser with you, 3 times the first airstrike has 10% time reduced. Yeah, she is worth it. She is kind of supporting action when I think about it. Well, every time this launches an airstrike, she got the additional attack damage making, and then that she has the ability to stop enemies for your vanguard, then finish them off. And then she is supporting to iron blood carriers. And for herself, and of course, let's not forget, all this depends on what kind of equipment you have on her. Because if you do not have good gears, airplanes, let's just say this way, if you do not have good airplanes on Peter Strasser, yes, she can underperform if you're giving her the planes that doesn't suit well in a situation in hand. And it seems she do not require any iron blood planes, only for the members of the iron blood ships in the same fleet. So you can actually give her the most insane planes you can actually build in the game. As much I would like to do that, the most hardest ones require 10 years of grind if you do not monthly grind Operation Azur, because the best gears you can find are there in Gear Lab. Isn't that fair? Oh boy, especially the ultra rare planes. There are the new ones. If you do not stay up on date grinding Operation Siren and you want to give Peter Strasser the gears that you really want, you need to basically waste months to get the gear you want. For instance, if you're super lucky, you have 0 super secret plans that are ultra rare ones. In 1 month, you can either get 1 of those blueprints or 2, reducing the grinding time from 9 months to 7 months or 5 months. I don't know because I lost account. So that heavily depends on how do you build her. Paralyzing advance. Okay, there's a little bit downside. Paralyzing advance. Yes. It decreases the speed of enemies 8%. That's good. But then add that 10% chance of every second to stop them entirely in 3 seconds. Was it the Royal Navy Indomitable that has capability to stop the enemies an instant? I don't know. I don't remember the mechanic right now. But to me, the Indomitable is more superior in that department compared to Peter Strasser. But that's my opinion. She is fine. Sometimes there is some super unlucky moment. When you enter the stage, the first second in the timer activates the skill that stops all the enemies on stage. So, perhaps 10% chance is there because of that. Or you're just unlucky to get the first one in the first second. That happened once or twice in my history book. But that is so random, so in the end it's not a big deal. You just need to wish every 10% in every second that does it activate or not. Because, let's not forget, chapter 14 is the most brutal ones of those enemies that are advancing towards your main fleet. Also starting from map 14.3 and also in 4 there are submarines. So not a good time if the skill is not on your side. What else? Actually, she is decent. She works. She has no downsides. She is workable carrier, I have to say. And thanks to the Bismarck skill, that also increases their reload by 12%, Ironblood members, and also increases aircraft carriers damage by 20%. So there is also that buff. Yeah. Peter Strasser works. There's nothing wrong about her. I'm actually happy that she actually works. Need me to put actually some resources to make her planes that could work. And thanks to her equipments that do not require one Ironblood plane to make work, is actually a good one. But of course I could see a Graf Zeppelin more used, because her efficiency gets also increased by 30%. So there's that. But she is good. Peter Strasser is good. There is nothing wrong about her. Does he need a augment module? What can you actually upgrade on her? Well, in Paralyzing Advance, once every second, 10% chance to set speed to all enemies to 0. For the record, if the augment could just change that skill in a way that 3 seconds or 5 seconds after the battle stops all enemies in 3 seconds, and starting from that it goes with a random. So that could be the only thing I could see in her augment. Overall opinion, if you see them in sale or you get them from build, it's not waste of your time or resources, build to them and take your time to make them work, because you need a biscuit help to make them work also. They can work without Bismarck support. Oh, also, I almost forget, Bismarck Sway can also give buff to Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser, all carriers of their fleet. So if you have Bismarck Sway that give in other fleet, like fleet number 1, and you use Graf Zeppelin, Peter Strasser, and the other carrier in fleet number 2, Sway gives that fleet, second fleet, that 15% aviation buff. So there is that. So I say that's a good deal for Iron Blood mates. Well, we have now come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. What is your opinion about Graf Zeppelin and Peter Strasser? I'm looking forward to this new aircraft carrier we are going to get in the Christmas. My name is LuckyMan205, and I see you in the next one. Merry Christmas.